In today's weather update video, we're going to be talking about the severe weather threat in the Great Plains over the next day or two, as well as the excessive rainfall risk happening across the plains, as well as a little bit of the south. Could be having some problems with that as well. Now, for today, at least finally, after like 2 weeks, I haven't made a video, we finally do have a little risk of severe weather. Now, obviously, there has been slight risk that have been happening. I've just began school, 2 weeks ago, so I'm finally able to make a video because, holy, it takes a little bit after starting school as well. So we do have a slight risk of severe weather over basically the central part of Nebraska. However, specifically, we are going to talk about this big marginal risk happening literally right through the plains, as we even do have a little risk down here towards Louisiana and Texas. Interestingly, our biggest risk is going to be the hail risk, with a 15% chance right over Nebraska and a 5% chance over the plains. There is none over where southeastern Texas and southwestern Louisiana is. However, for the wind risk, we do have a 5% chance over in that area, and we also do have a 5% chance over in the plains as well. With the tornado risk, we do have a 2% chance happening specifically, over a little bit of west central Nebraska and northwestern Kansas. Specifically, areas around North Platte, Nebraska could, see that very isolated tornado chance. Tomorrow, we do have great news. There is not even a marginal risk in effect. Now, I do think, somewhere in the plains here, there could be obviously a chance for a marginal risk. Obviously, that is very possible that they could add it. Just as of right now, as I'm making this video, there is not one. But obviously, if there is one that is impacting at least 1 million or 2 people with a tornado risk, then I will be making a, another update video about that. But at least for tomorrow, we don't have anything going on, as a marginal risk or even slight risk. 3, same thing. We have literally no marginal risk at all. Again, we could see a chance happening over here in the plains or even in the southeast, but we're still a day or two, far away, so, still anything could happen. All right, now what we're probably going to be seeing over tonight, as we kind of move through, evening time for, our friends in Nebraska and Kansas, we do see that we do have some isolated storms moving through Nebraska, Kansas, to the panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. As we kind of go through, specifically kind of like over into overnight, those storms will still be there moving through, from Nebraska to Texas. Those storms will be moving through. Very isolated storms, a tiny wind risk, hail risk, could be seeing that. Obviously our biggest risk is going to be the hail risk. Obviously damaging winds and even like an isolated tornado in there too cannot be ruled out. And as we kind of go in through tomorrow, most activity around here in the plains is really going to be a bunch of rain happening, some gusty winds, some localized flooding. Again, cannot be ruled out happening in the plains at least through tomorrow. Over the excessive rainfall, we do have 3 different areas to talk about. Obviously, over here in the plains, where we're talking about the severe weather, even down here a little bit into the southwest, monsoon rain could still be seen kind of around here. We also even do have one across the south between Texas and Alabama. So kind of across the southern part of the south, if that makes sense. So we will be, potentially seeing that. So obviously be weather aware of flash flooding happening, and especially in the plains and as well as the south, lots of flat areas happening. So it could be really easy to flood. Tomorrow, for our friends over here in what I call the southern south, no longer going to be under that slight risk. I don't think there will be, but there could be that very slight chance that it could happen. Really, we're still going to be talking about the central plains, and as well as the southern plains, the southwest. Could be seeing that 15% chance slight risk happening within the 25 miles of a point of flash flooding being a problem. And then into day 3, the plains in the southeast still could have some isolated 5% chance of flooding happening really around like El Paso, we could be seeing some of that slight chance of flash flooding possible. So flooding, could still happen, especially for places along the Rio Grande River in Texas and New Mexico. Could see some flooding here and there. Next 48 hours or so, a lot of us, especially in the central part of the United States, are going to be experiencing lots of rain. So, especially over in our severe weather zone, some areas could be up to I know this is 9.34 inches. That is definitely not going to be happening, but like some areas up to 5 inches to even 6 inches, that could be very possible. 9 inches, I don't think we'll see that, but there could be that chance where I could get surprised and that could happen. In Kansas, we could have some swaths of 1 to 2 inches. Same thing over here in Texas. And then, especially even along the south here, some areas of, 2 to 4 inches are very well possible, with isolated amounts up to 5 inches are definitely very well possible. And a lot of us over here in the mid Atlantic and Northeast, not a lot of rain. Same thing with over here in the West Coast and Midwest, except the Midwest could see some areas over in like Wisconsin, Minnesota could see, little bits of drizzle showers kind of moving through, just a little bit. Now, talking about the temperature for the next 6 to 10 days and 8 to 14 days has been quite a thing that has been going on for the past 2 to 3 weeks, because a lot of us in the East Coast, especially in the Northeast, have been experiencing quite the below average temperatures, and even if it's through the 6 to 10 days. Like a lot of us in the Midwest, Ohio River Valley, Plains, even, are going to be well below average for temperatures. And over here in the West Coast has been dealing with, lots of above average temperatures happening over here. A little bit of, southern Florida could be in that 6 to 10 day, above average temperatures. But for the most part, a lot of us, hopefully, in the East Coast, or at least east of the Mississippi, could be experiencing well below than average. That's why a lot of the times, too, it's feeling like, when we're in August, it's feeling like October or even November in some areas. So this is definitely feeling great for a lot of us. And then even within the next 8 to 14 days, with the uncertainty still along like east of the plains and Rocky Mountains, still a lot of below average. A little bit of the very far south could be experiencing a little bit, or above temperatures, and as well as the western part of the U.S. could be, as well as a little bit to above average temperatures happening within the next 8 to 14 days. Next 3 to 4 weeks, they have actually updated this a bit, is that a lot of the U.S. is going to be above average for the most part. Maybe, some people in the Pacific Northwest could be experiencing those tiny, a little bit below than average temperatures. And then places like the plains and or a little bit of the Rocky Mountains could be near normal average for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Then for the next month, so probably all the way to the end of September, probably all the country is going to be above average. I know that doesn't really make sense without the next 6 to 10 days and 8 to 14 days. Obviously, within the next month, things could change. I mean, this could not really be, much accurate at all that we could be seeing. So, like, obviously, where we're having our coldest stuff happening, you see that we're only going to be slightly above average. So you got to consider that too. Where the West Coast is, where there's more above average temperatures, that's where we're seeing, with those 6 to 10 day, 8 to 14 day, above average temperatures kind of happening. Then even as well as the next, 3 months even, there has been an update where majority of the U.S., so probably, until November, so somewhere around there, could be above average. Maybe something in a little bit of the northern plains could be near normal average for temperatures, but again, most of us are going to be above average probably throughout until November, at least. Over the next 6 to 10 days, most of us in the U.S. are probably going to be above average or near normal average for it. Maybe a little bit in the northern plains and the Pacific Northwest, it could be below average, but really for the most part, above average or near normal average. 8 to 14 days. I don't know what happened with this map, but something is very wrong with it. So We have above average precipitation for the most part in areas, and then we have quite the near normal average as well happening, so it could almost even be 50-50 split. What I don't understand though is, why is there this? You can see, can you, I don't know if you guys can see this or not. Do you see this little ring that is kind of surrounding it, this little brown thing? I don't know what was going on with, you know, the WPC, the Weather Prediction Center that does this stuff, but I don't know if this is a bug or not, but this looks like to me that they're trying to make it below than average. I'm not sure yet, but the map's a little bugged out for now. Then within the next 3 to 4 weeks, suggesting that a lot of us in the Northeast and like even Southeast, especially the places in Florida, could be very above average for precipitation. In fact, really the only place that's going to be a little bit drier than average is going to be the Pacific Northwest. That's besides that, everywhere else would probably be above average and or a little bit of near normal average for precipitation. And then within the next month, wow, things have definitely changed. Most of us are probably going to be above near normal average, not above average, near normal average for the most part in terms of population. However, places around Salt Lake City even very well below average. Precipitation. Again, this is for the next month prediction. It's not always going to be right for sure. But the southeast, with its correlation of excessive rainfall for the next couple of days, could suggest, that above than average rainfall in a little bit at the Pacific Northwest as well. And that too will probably go well, as same for the next 3 months as well. Right, now, I do want to talk about drought for a second here. So currently, right now, drought across the United States, it's kind of, in some areas it's been growing, in some areas it's been shrinking. Since the last time I made a video, the northern plains is really no longer under any drought. And even like in the central plains, there's barely any drought. Some areas around Nebraska are still up to severe droughts. Yeah, but a lot of us, here are turning into the moderate to abnormally dry. And then a lot of us in the East Coast, some areas are a little bit drier than others. Especially metropolitan areas could be, a little bit more drier than some areas. And then especially, where we've been having this wildfires having to deal with, some areas in the Rocky Mountains are exceptionally dry. Very dry for the most part. And then kind of around California, where they grow a lot of their stuff, still around the abnormally dry than last time that I made a video. But it seems like when I'm looking at this map, seems like it has improved since, the last 2 weeks since I made a video. And last thing we can talk about is the tropics currently. Currently, there's this area, a tropical disturbance happening right along the coast of Africa. However, it's probably going to take, if it, there could be a chance this does move into the U.S., but we are probably going to have to wait like a week or two for that to really happen. We do have 2 other areas to happen right off the coast of Mexico. They're not going to be doing much, as they're just going to move through the ocean and not do a lot of stuff. Maybe, besides some hazardous waves, along the coast of Mexico and maybe Hawaii as well. And that's going to be the end of my weather video. So if you guys like to see a new one, make sure you guys like and subscribe for following updates of what I do. And I'll see you guys in the next one. So goodbye.